Welcome back to my channel. It's Christy here to do the extended monthly forecast for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising signs. This is a general reading for your signs, so whatever is helpful and healing, please use to your advantage. Whatever doesn't resonate, you can discard. So we're looking at a general reading for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising for the month of May 2018. Wow, 2018. We're looking at any pressing concern for your sign. So what are messages for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising for May 2018? Messages for Sagittarius. Messages for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Rising. So I'm using the Good Tarot for our main spread today, and then we'll get jumper cards from the Medicine card Oracle deck and the Wisdom of the Oracle deck following this 6-card reading for you. So any pressing concern, Sagittarius. I'm going to get a little snapshot of what's going on before getting into the cards in each of their position. I have one major arcana here for you. Hangman is always rather exciting. It's just perspective. So perspective is going to be given or applied or appreciated or discovered here, which is going to be great. I think we could all use some perspective, particularly if we get too close to an issue or too close to a problem. We have a great deal of, well, I wouldn't say a great deal. We have the majority of cards in the water element. We have a little bit of air element and then one earth. So 1 earth, 1 air, 3 water. So a lot of emotional energy for you. Nothing bad, nothing overwhelming. Just something that we're probably going to get a little perspective on here. And there could be a spiritual bent to this as well. So let's get into why I'm saying what I'm saying about the overall snapshot. In the underlying energy, we have the 6 of Cups here, or the 6 of Water in this deck. Again, we're looking at the emotional element, and the 6 of Cups is really looking at nostalgia. Looking not necessarily at the past, but that can very well be a factor, but there could be a sense of the rose-colored glasses situation here. With any emotional environment, however you apply your emotions this month. Is it a romance? Is it a career? Is it a study? Is it a personal health issue? Is it travel? Is it, should I apply for that job? Like, whatever is going on for you, Sagittarius. The underlying energy is really talking about nostalgia. You could be missing something that you never even had, right? And I'm not saying you're the only one or this is the only time I've seen this position for this card. You know, it happens to the best of us, right? We tend to inject so much or even project so much of what we need and want and concern ourselves with, particularly in the emotional world, and then feel empty and then feel like, you know, we're drained or there's some sort of emotional vampirism because we're not getting what we need. We're not getting it back. So whether this nostalgia is well-founded or founded in reality, as in it's reciprocal or actually happened or not, it's the feeling, okay? The feeling of nostalgia is what is featured here. So the underlying energy is suggesting that there's a sense of nostalgia, whether or not it actually occurred or happened or was even good for you or emotionally fulfilling or reciprocated. There's just generally a longing here, and if maybe it has nothing to do with nostalgia and it's just like an emotional longing, it's like it's a really nice lesson for you to suggest to yourself, I can have more. If I'm dreaming and wishing and wanting and relating to something that I don't currently have emotionally, then I recognize it. Now I've put a name on it. Now I can suggest to myself that I want more and that I can achieve that. But I do think that the first step to that is realizing this. So this is actually a really nice opportunity, unless you're okay with, and again, to each their own. Maybe it's just something you're okay with being nostalgic about. You are missing something emotionally and it's gone forever. And you're just feeling this way as an underlying energy for the month of May. And that's okay too. That's not wrong, okay? It's just, that's what the energy is that's going on here. So you get to decide what you do with this, okay? If this is fine for you and you understand what it is and you can put a name and a face and a place and timestamp and whatever you appreciate as what this nostalgia or longing is, you get to do with what you want with that, okay? But I'm going to suggest that it can lead you to higher ground, okay? Unless you accept this is the way it is and you can move on, that's fine too. Only you know what that's applying to. But if you wanted to use it as a leaping point, you could definitely do that, because this is going to be an acknowledgement of, or at least an ability to look at what it is you're nostalgic about. So, you can play around with that this month, Sagittarius. The heart of the reading or the concern is the 8 of Pentacles. And this is an enormous ability to focus on hard work, your hard work. Something you've been building for quite some time here. This is something that is found evidently in the natural world. So you can see it, taste it, touch it, feel it. This could be family, this could be finances, something literal, okay? Could be something you're publishing, you're producing, you're creating, that can be touched, smelled, tasted, etc. Something that's tangible, but working extremely hard towards something here. It could even be, and I'm simplifying this, I recognize, but it could be something as simple as saying, I'm nostalgic about the old days when I found it easier to work this hard, or I didn't have to put so much work into it, or it didn't become overwhelming, or I was able to focus on other things, and now it's like work, that type of thing. So it could feel like that, for example, but that's an incredibly simplified version of what I'm seeing here. But ultimately, nostalgia on an emotional level, and then working hard toward personal and financial prosperity. And again, there's nothing inherently wrong with either of these cards or the position they're in. That's just not what any of this is about. It's just about how you can use these energies to either accept what's occurring in your life and how you're going about the things you want and don't want. Or it's about saying, there's an opportunity here. I can switch things up. So it's really about, hopefully, self-empowerment. So the heart of the reading is a lot of focused hard work. So essentially, I think it's pretty cool. And you might even be like, perhaps even, I was going to say daydreaming, but I would say the 7 of Cups is more daydreaming. This is more nostalgia. So with the underlying energy being nostalgia, this being the concern, it's probably more likely that it's kind of like, ooh, there's a time when it wasn't this much work, or I didn't have this much responsibility, or even if, let's say, you've become extremely prosperous financially, for example, like even rich, for example, let's just get extreme, there are a lot of things that come with that. A lot of people think, for example, whether we're not wealthy to begin with, or we work hard toward wealth and we don't know anyone who's wealthy, and it's almost like our first foray into it, we're like, oh, everything just must be easy for people who are wealthy. Everything's easy about it once you have a lot of money. And that's actually not the case at all. Definitively, and yes, some things are easier, affording certain things are easier, but it doesn't mean everything's easier. So that could be an element that's being discovered here as well for you. And there could be relationships that are perturbed or affected by this type of prosperity or focus as well. Someone could be longing for you, or like, if you didn't work so hard, we could spend more time together, or remember the old days and all that type of thing. So again, not a terrible thing, and it doesn't mean you have to switch things up. It just could be almost like wow, I remember what I thought it was going to be like, and this is what it's actually like. So don't disregard the prosperity, though. That's not what I'm saying. It's all really positive. It's all really conducive to wellness and to the betterment of you and your loved ones. It's just, I think there's a sense of kind of like, wow, I didn't expect that. Okay, I'll leave it there. Here with the past energy is the King of Water. So this is really just emotional fulfillment. This is past energy saying that you were perfectly emotionally fulfilled, so much so that you could probably give it away. You could share it pretty easily, pretty open with your emotional wellness. Your emotional cup was overflowing. You were pretty open and honest, and congratulations to you for doing that. In fact, it's something that I give Sagittarius a lot of credit for, and I think you deserve it. Sagittariuses are honest to a fault, and I think that should be applauded because it includes emotional honesty. And if there's one thing that we need in this world, I really truly think more than anything right now with regard to personal relationships, it's emotional honesty. Let's get clear about what we want and need and are able to provide. And then be willing to work with other people toward their needs and wants and desires as well. So, this is real commitment, emotional commitment energy. It's heightened emotional and compassionate awareness. This is, if it isn't you or it isn't energy that belongs to you, Sagittarius, this is going to feature a Scorpio, Cancer, or Pisces male predominantly, or a woman with overriding masculine energy, who is 30 years and older. So someone who could be older than you, someone who is very evidentially, emotionally evolved here, okay? So whether this is a person in your environment, or perhaps as a Sagittarius, you have Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces sun, moon rising for you, if you're a cross watcher. So if that's the case, I'm going to suggest that that's you, and that you are this compassionate, evolved person here. Otherwise, it's going to either be an energy in your environment or an actual person in your environment, whether this is someone you work with or are dating or are friends with, or communicate with regularly within this environment. So your present energy is the Three of Cups. This is really beautiful energy. This is celebratory energy. Again, this is your third water. So a lot of emotional wellness, okay? Very definitive emotional wellness to the point of celebration here. We are looking at the 3, we're looking at equilibrium, and then we're looking at the first party. The 2 is the couple, the 3 is the party. So at least in the tarot. So, this is like, there's a celebration here. There's a meeting of the hearts. This could be between you and your a small peer group, you and a couple of other girls, for example, or men with dominant feminine energy. But ultimately, this is a really beautiful card to have, and it does sit under the 6 of water. So it could be a nice environment for you to share these types of longings and nostalgia, for example, or maybe there's a reunion here, okay? Where you're able to share this type of emotion with them, like, gosh, we should get together more often, or this is so nice, like I miss this, that type of thing. So that could be what's occurring here as well. It doesn't have to be, affecting all parts of your life. It could just be one theme. But certainly for May, Sagittarius, if you are missing women in your life, or you are missing some close feminine energy relationships that you are feeling nostalgic about, really nice time to get in touch with these people. I think that they would be very happy to reconnect with you as well, because celebration energy is everyone benefits. Everyone's there to celebrate, okay? So in the position for the future is the Hanged Man. So here we're dealing with the next 3. So we have 2 3s, a 6, and 8. 8 is also infinity as a horizontal symbol. So this could be a prosperous growth toward a passionate calling. Is something you're working hard toward here. I'm just throwing that out there as well. 6 is the balance, as we know. 3 is always the celebration. And I would suggest here with the Hanged Man in your future position, I would say it's a celebration of perspective. Okay, you've gained perspective. You are gaining perspective. The point of any lesson learned this month is perspective, and it should be celebrated. This is a point of celebration for you. And this is available to you. It's not something you can maneuver. Past, it's something you have to maneuver within because it's a major arcana. So if there are any clashes whatsoever between you and ideologies, other people, situations, even something that you hold dear to you, like an opinion or a belief system, etc. I think if you were, and it could even be where the nostalgia is coming from too, like, oh, I didn't know that, it was easier not to know that, etc. It's almost like this is your best friend, even though it could cause, initially at least, a little bit of upset. This should be celebrated here, this opportunity for perspective. And then here with your advice card is the Four of Air. This is the Four of Swords, and this is really just taking a rest on something with regard to a belief system, opinions, ideologies, ideas, thoughts, thought patterns, internal narratives, internal dialogue. Okay, we're just looking at taking a little bit of a rest here about what you've been telling yourself about something. Or even in communication with other people. Maybe you have to cut a communication off for a little bit. Maybe you have to put your foot down about a communication that you feel like is getting out of control. You're just like, you know what, let's take a little break. Let's walk away from this. I need more time to examine this, or you do, or whatever. This is really just a sense of there's an element of going within. I would say if this is similar to anything, it's like the hermit position here, but of the mind, okay? It's sort of like you can ask for advice till the cows come home. You can do self-help. You can get in touch with other people who are emotionally bound to you. You can even gain perspective here. But ultimately, you have to come to terms with what you are learning and thinking and believing. And in order for you perhaps to come to terms with a new perspective, you will need to sort of like, oh, I need a break. I need some space. I don't want to, this could be because you recognize that an argument could be en route, or you're not poised or educated or comfortable in any level in order to argue a new, or process, even mindfully process, a new opinion, a new, maybe even it's data or actual results of something. It's almost like you need to figure that out before you go ahead and talk about it, or start to talk to other people about it, or argue it, etc. So we do have the Not For You, and then of course we have the Weasel, which is a diversion. I actually didn't expect these cards to come up. The Not For You, I would suggest, would be something that's just outdated, especially if you recognize it here with gained perspective. It's going to be something that feels like a game anyway. To you, it could be the game of life. It could be a game of chance. It could be calculated risks. Okay, so the chess game suspended in midair means that there's a suspension of something that felt gamey, and then of course the fortune cookie that says nope. Clinging wouldn't be to your best interest now. So this is really saying it's going to be in your best interest to let go of something that doesn't work for you anymore, doesn't abide by your emotional, compassionate, hard work, prosperous, celebratory, new perspective, lens through which you see the world. So there will be something that is gonna hit home for you that you probably didn't expect on some level. That isn't necessarily bad. It's just going to be perhaps be the end of something, meaning that wasn't for you. But another way to read this is that it's almost like you're better off. So try to accept that. If you feel strongly, depending on what it is for you, Sagittarius, if it's something that you feel very strongly that you need to fight for, I would take a brief reprise from it all the same, okay? If you recognize here whatever is going on here with your perspective and then taking a rest, as the advice card with regard to your perspective, it would be like, allow for this to happen before you let go, or before coming to terms with something not being for you. And like I said, with the weasel being diversion here, we have the 33. So there's a lot of issues around balance. You want to be able to get to the heart of a matter here. I think that there could be, and again, I think this is just human nature. We try to protect ourselves from perspective, particularly if it means switching something up, a worldview, a belief system, an ideology, thought process, thought patterns, internal dialogue, etc. You just want to be careful here that you're not diverting out of it. If this is something you want to get to the heart of the matter for, coming to terms with something, it can just be something that you say to yourself, like, every time I start thinking this, I'm going to switch it up. So you can really practice this month being your own best friend as well, and helping yourself out through any significant perspective changes here. Changes around perspective. Ultimately, this is enlightenment, okay? So it's not like you're going backwards. Recognize that here as well, Sagittarius. You're definitely not going backwards. So that is your reading for May. I hope that you enjoyed that. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Until then, take excellent care, Sagittarius. Bye for now.